I live the dark truth of night shifts in a national park. You won't believe what haunts you. Lurking shadows whispered hidden secrets in the heart of the wilderness. Night fell over Pinewood National Park like a heavy, suffocating cloak. The air turned crisp, charged with an electric tension. It wasn't just the dark, it was what the dark concealed. Every rustle in the underbrush felt like a heartbeat, echoing in your chest. Every flicker of movement sent shivers racing down your spine. Park rangers warned about the strange happenings after sundown, but those were just tales, right? Jake had always been skeptical. He took the night shifts, viewing them as an adventure, a chance to bond with nature away from the daily buzz of city life. The sounds of the forest, the gentle hooting of an owl, the distant rustle of leaves were music to his ears. But on that first night, just past midnight, he heard something different. A high-pitched wail. It pierced through the tranquil night, a cry that felt almost human. He froze, heart racing, eyes darting towards the direction of the noise. What kind of creature made a sound like that? The trees loomed tall and menacing, shadows stretching across the ground like ghostly fingers. Fog rolled in, thick and swirling, muting the moonlight. The path ahead became an eerie unknown. He knew he had to investigate. Answers beckoned to him like sirens in the night. But with every step he took, unease twisted in his gut. Was he truly alone? The rustling grew louder, almost as if something or someone was following him. Jake's breath hitched in his throat. Sweat dripped down his temples. He could feel a presence, heavy and watchful. It was as if the very forest was alive, judging him. Just then, a flurry of movement caught his eye. He turned, heart pounding, but nothing was there. Only the aching silence and the whisper of the wind. What was lurking just beyond sight, somewhere in that dense darkness? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Jake's instincts screamed at him to go back. But he tightened his grip on the flashlight, taking a deep breath. Shadows twisted and danced, and he pushed deeper into the unknown. And then, he saw it. A figure, ghastly and pale, standing at the edge of the trees. The world froze. What was happening? Panic surged as the figure turned slowly, revealing hollow eyes boring into him. Jake could barely breathe. He stumbled back, feeling ice flood his veins. Was this the dark truth the others had whispered about? What ancient horrors awaited him beyond the tree-line? The figure stepped forward, its gaunt limbs slithering from the shadows. Jake's pulse thundered in his ears as he instinctively took another step back, too stunned to turn and run. The pale face, pinched and hollow, wore an expression he couldn't quite decipher. Was it anger? Hunger? It was like staring into the depths of a silent abyss. And then, with a sudden burst, the wail erupted again, this time louder and rawer, as if the earth itself was being torn apart. Instinct kicked in. Jake turned and sprinted down the narrow path, branches slashing at him like skeletal fingers. He could feel the forest pulse around him, alive, aware, and watching. Panic clawed at his throat. Every step felt like a desperate gamble against the dark, the sound of his heartbeat drowning out the night. As he burst into a clearing, he stumbled to a halt. The moon illuminated the area, framing it in a ghostly silver light. But the breath caught in his throat when he saw the ground. It was littered with torn remnants of what looked like old clothes, scraps that had long since been abandoned or discarded. Dark stains seeped into the earth, telling silent stories of horror. Jake, a voice murmured from behind him, a whisper more chilling than the wind. His heart plummeted as he froze, feeling every part of him scream for direction. The figure was there again, closer now, the hollow eyes narrowed and glimmering with an unsettling hunger. He spun around, his mind racing for a plan, a way out, but the shadows loomed larger, almost like walls closing in on him. In a moment of chaotic clarity, he spotted the forest edge nearby, nature twisted in impossible angles, almost inviting. He bolted for it. This time, he didn't hesitate. Branches whipped against his face and arms as he ran, each step filling him with dread. What is this thing? What did it want? The cries merged into an agonizing cacophony of despair, as if every lost spirit of the forest had started to wail for their tormentor. Jake could feel the ground quake beneath his feet. He finally stumbled upon a weathered log cabin at the woodland's edge. It looked abandoned but offered a glimmer of hope. The door creaked open as he pushed it, the dark inside swallowing him whole. The stillness contrasted sharply with the chaos outside. He pressed his back against the door, feeling its rough surface, the thud of his racing heart the only sound in the enveloping darkness. His eyes tried to adjust to the dim light. Cobwebs hung like a curtain around him, and dust danced in the air. He knew he couldn't just wait here. He needed answers. He needed to know what haunted these woods and why it had chosen him. Steeling himself, he navigated the cluttered room, brushing aside old chairs and broken furniture. And then he saw a small lantern on a shelf, half buried under old newspapers and photographs. As he fumbled to switch it on, a hand gripped his shoulder, freezing him in place. The voice came again, softer this time, almost gentle. Why do you disturb us? Jake's breath hitched, his heart hammering in his chest. The darkness wasn't over yet. He had no idea who or what he was dealing with. Just outside the cabin, the forest stirred restlessly, and the wail resumed. He realized in horror that it was not merely a cry, it was a call. To whom or what? And did he even want to find out? With dread tightening its grip around him, Jake glanced back to the darkness lurking beyond the door, wondering if he was about to reveal secrets he could never escape. What was waiting for him in the depths of the forest? Jake's breath came in quick, panicked bursts, his mind racing. The voice that gripped his shoulder felt oddly familiar, though he couldn't place it. The cabin's dim light flickered ominously as shadows danced on the walls. He resisted the urge to yank away from the touch, knowing that whatever had spoken was heavily laden with intention. Who are you? He managed to croak out, his voice betraying his fear. Your friend, the voice whispered, laced with something dark, something sinister. You're here to understand, aren't you? The chilling, breathy words turned his stomach. An image of the figure from outside flashed through his mind the way the hollow eyes had glimmered with hunger. He turned slowly, teeth clenched, willing himself to look into the face of whoever haunted him now. The lantern illuminated a thin figure, cloaked in darkness, wearing the tattered remnants of what had once been human, a face he remembered. Sarah. The girl from the campsite, missing for weeks. At the thought, a shudder passed through him. Memories of her laughter, her bright smile, twisted into this horrifying reality. Sarah? He whispered, though he still found it hard to believe. Is it really you? Everyone comes here looking for the truth. She stepped closer, the air feeling colder as she drew near. But some truths are better left buried. Flashes of what he had seen that night came crushing back, of the panic, of Sarah's scream when the shadows claimed her. Fear mingled with hope inside him. Hope that somewhere beneath the terror, she was still alive, even if it felt as if he were facing a ghost. What happened to you? His voice trembled as he struggled for control, for comprehension. I can help you. Her thin, pale lips curled into a sardonic smile. Help? The forest doesn't need help, Jake. It needs sacrifices, the desperate, the curious. You're one of those chosen. The air stilled, thick with an oppressive weight. He felt caught, trapped in a web of desperation that threatened to suffocate him. I'm not afraid of the truth, he shouted, his resolve faltering. You're not dead. I can still save you. You don't get it, she hissed, her voice lowering as shadows danced around her form. We are the truth, Jake. I'm not lost. Not anymore. In that moment, the walls seemed to pulsate with the wailing of the forest beyond, each cry sharper now, almost sentient with a life that demanded to be understood. An eerie understanding dawned upon Jake as the reality unfurled around him. The forest wasn't just watching, it was alive, hungry, driven to protect its own twisted legacy. He peeked outside through a grimy window. A flicker of movement in the darkness sent a jolt through him. They were there. Shadows shifting, watching once more. It struck him then that he wasn't just being chased. He was in the very heart of the hunt. Jake. Sarah's voice cut through the whirlwind of his thoughts. Will you join us? Join you? He asked, incredulous. You mean, succumb? Her eyes glinted like steel, her once warm persona now a mere shell. When the forest calls, you will answer. Or lose everything to the shadows. Panic surged through him, clawing at his insides. He turned to the door, an instinct driving him to escape once more. But that wail, it was louder now, more intense. The cries of those trapped in the darkness sang of despair and longing. What would happen if he ran? Would he escape? Or would he fall prey to the forest like Sarah? Choose, Jake. She commanded, voice laden with urgency. With fear clawing at his heart, he hesitated, torn between the love for his friend and the terror of becoming one with the woods. What choice would he make? Would he turn his back on Sarah and the truth, or would he embrace the darkness, taking a step closer to the haunting that awaited on the forest's edge? His thoughts spiraled as the voice of the forest rasped through the night, begging him to decide. In the weighty silence, Jake grasped the cold handle of the door, knowing time was running out. But before he could tug it open, a flash of light caught his eye, a glimmering path through the trees, beckoning him forward. And as Sarah smiled wider, he wondered if he could face that truth without losing himself, or if it was too late to escape the call. What would be at the end of that path? Would he find her, the real Sarah, or his own demise? Jake's heart thundered in his chest as he stared at Sarah's twisted form. The flickering lantern did little to dispel the mounting fear clawing its way up his spine. The way she moved, the way her gaze locked onto him, it felt less like a reunion and more like a confrontation. I can't believe this, Jake stuttered, his mind grappling with impossible realities. You're saying you're part of it now? Part of what? She shot back, her voice sharp and cold, slicing through his confusion. The truth? Or the darkness? You can see it, can't you? The way they hunger for your fear? Jake instinctively stepped back, his instincts screaming at him to run. But the door felt heavy, a physical barrier keeping him from escaping. He could barely breathe as the shadows outside pressed closer, forming horrifying shapes that loomed in the night. It was as if he were standing at the precipice of hell, and he could feel the heat rising beneath him. You should embrace it, Jake, Sarah continued, her voice now a haunting melody. You're not scared, you're intrigued. You want to know what happened. That's why you came here. She took another step forward, and he could see the glimmering trails of something dark pooling in her eyes, the remnants of a living soul beneath a facade twisted by secrets. No! He shook his head vehemently, fighting to hold on to the slivers of hope still flickering in his heart. I'm not like you. I want to be consumed. Consumed? She laughed, a sound that had echoes of joy and despair entwined. You already are. Open your eyes, Jake. The forest doesn't just take, it gives too. Everyone who comes here leaves something behind. But they also gain freedom. Freedom? He felt his stomach churn. You call this freedom? Trapped in this nightmare? Your ignorance is charming, she said with a smirk, the shadows swirling around her as if they were alive. You think they're evil? Think again. They'll show you everything if you let them. The air in the cabin was growing dense, charged with a kind of energy that made Jake's skin prickle. An unseen force was pushing against him, pulling him towards Sarah, towards the darkened forest just outside. You have to choose. Don't you want to know where I've been? Show me. His voice wavered, uncertainty flickering across his face. Show me who you are now. In an instant, the air shifted, and a vision burst forth from Sarah's eyes. He was yanked into a kaleidoscope of horrifying images, a collective scream of agony echoed in his ears. He saw fleeting images of campers, of shadows reaching out, dragging them into the abyss. In a flash of terrifying clarity, he understood. Sarah was no longer just a victim, she had become part of the predator, The walls of the cabin seemed to pulse with the images, the light flickering wildly, battling against the darkness that was more than shadows. A gasp escaped his lips as Jake stumbled backward, feeling the worn wooden floor crack beneath him, stark against the oppressive weight of the truth that crushed his chest. Sarah's tone shifted, softening, reaching for him. "Join me. Let me show you the world beyond the trees. They are calling for you." Before he could respond, a loud crash erupted outside, breaking the hypnotic hold on him. The shadows writhed, shrieking with sudden intensity, as if a new threat had stirred them from their slumber. "Run!" Sarah urged, her voice laced with urgency. "You have to choose now." He tore his gaze from her, racing towards the door. Each step felt like an eternity as he grasped the handle, visions of Sarah's plea replaying in his mind. Would he leave her? Could he leave her behind, knowing the forest hungered for him? But a roar erupted from the trees, hinting at what awaited him beyond the threshold. Hesitation gripped him, an internal battle raging as darkness loomed hungrily closer. "Now, Jake!" she screamed, the timbre of her presence tinged with desperation. "Before it's too late!" Jake flung the door wide open, swallowing hard as the treacherous path before him glimmered with another shimmer of light, calling him forward. The forest swirled with a life of its own, breathing down his neck. He had to decide, to step into that light or plunge deeper into the darkness, and see what lay beyond. As his foot hovered over the threshold, a chilling whisper echoed from behind him, promising both salvation and damnation. What awaited him in the depths of the night? The twisted truth was waiting. Would he dare to confront it? The door creaked as Jake stepped hesitantly into the night. The forest seemed to breathe around him, a living entity that exhaled whispers with every gust of wind. Each step he took was heavy, an invisible weight anchoring him, as if the woods were daring him to go further. "Jake!" Sarah's voice cut through the air, sharp and echoing. "You don't know what you're getting into." Not looking back, fear surged through his blood like ice. The larval sounds of the forest, once familiar, now felt like creeping hands grasping at his mind, pressing him to run. Yet the glimmer of light ahead shone brighter with each passing heartbeat, pulling him toward the unknown. "Why did you come?" He thought he heard the rustle of leaves twist into words, daring him to answer. "What truth do you seek?" Suddenly, from the gloom, shadows stretched and merged, forming figures that seemed to taunt him. They flickered like the dying light of a candle, ghostly silhouettes of those who had wandered too far, too lost. His breath quickened, and he fought against the dread wrapping around his chest. Fragments of memories danced in his mind. Sarah's laugh, the innocence of their past. But now, she wasn't just a friend, she was something else. Something darker. "Join me, Jake." Sarah's whisper fluttered through the air, soaked in a strange blend of desire and desperation. "Feel what it is to truly understand." He shuddered, wrestling with his fears. Was understanding worth becoming one of them? Dark energy suffocated him, clawing at his skin, the forest alive with visions he could barely comprehend. With a match-like snap, the light in the distance dimmed, revealing a pathway that shifted under the weight of his choice. The trees writhed, as if alive, mocking his hesitation. Swallowing hard, he moved deeper into the shadows. "I need to see it," he murmured, the words flowing from his lips as if propelled by some unseen force. Suddenly spectral figures formed, circling him. Their faces twisted in agony, mouths opening in silent screams, their voices lost to despair. A murky fog enveloped him, choking out the last flickers of light as he stumbled through the darkness. "Jake, no!" Sarah's voice broke through the cacophony, but it felt distant, fading into the black. He couldn't stay in this torment. He had to escape. He turned to call out to her, to drag her from this darkness, but the words crumbled as he faced the echoing abyss that pulled him relentlessly forward. Was she lost, or was she leading him to something more horrifying? Evil laughed through the trees, a howling wind that filled his ears. Demons from the depths of the forest seemed to rise, urged on by the promise of blood and fear. He felt their eyes, cold and predatory, boring into him as he fought the instinct to flee. He was drawn, against all logic, to Sarah. to what she was now. His foot struck something solid, and glancing down, he froze. A silhouette, writhing, appeared just beneath the earth, its fingers clawing towards him, dragging some unseen horror from beneath. He recoiled, but the echo of Sarah's pleas rang in his head. "Jake, come back! You can't let it take you!" His heart raced, battling between the urge to rush back to her or retreat into the safety of the trees. But in that moment, the shadows stretched and surged, creating a wall around him, isolating him. What had awakened in the darkness? What was he really facing? A howl erupted from behind him, ripping through the night with a savage ferocity. The forest shuddered, and so did Jake, as he realized he was no longer merely an observer. He was now part of this entwined nightmare, living the consequences of his choices. Facing the chaos swirling before him, Jake made his decision. He rushed, grasping for what remained of his humanity. But what awaited him at the edge of that unseen pit? The true essence of fear lay just ahead. Would he find salvation or damnation? The ground beneath Jake shifted, becoming a treacherous pit that tugged at his feet like a living thing. It was as if the forest itself had opened its maw wide, beckoning him closer to the gaping darkness. He could almost hear its heartbeat, a low, somber thrum pulsing with the unholy energy of the lost souls surrounding him. "Jake!" Sarah's voice shrieked again, sharper this time, slicing through the swirling fog. "You have to fight!" But her words seemed to drape themselves in confusion, hinting at something deeper buried beneath her pleas. He staggered backward, torn between fleeing from the shadows that reached out hungrily toward him and moving toward the light that flickered so tantalizingly in the distance. Each breath felt heavy, laden with the weight of dread and a wild, thrumming sense of urgency. As the howls intensified around him, visions erupted from the mist. Distorted faces grinned wickedly, faces that were at once familiar and grotesque. Memories of friends and loved ones twisted into caricatures of regret and longing. They seemed caught in an eternal plight, forever intertwining with shadows that gnawed at their very essence. "Join us, Jake!" A figure taunted, its voice slick with malice, like a worm crawling into his mind. "You feel it, don't you? The truth, the power. I don't want it," he cried back, desperate to break the web of deceit wrapping around him. "I don't want to know." But knowledge seeped into him, clinging like the fog that enveloped every limb, every thought. He could feel whispers swirling, feeding him snippets of an ancient reality, truths that left his very spirit screaming for mercy. Suddenly, in that moment of agonizing clarity, he caught a glimpse of Sarah through the chaos, her gaze fixing upon him, disoriented yet fiercely determined. "I'll find you, no matter what!" she cried, her voice laced with a force that temporarily cut through the shrieks of the damned. Then the shadows trembled, shifting violently as if they understood her words and were enraged. They pulsed in sync, merging into a massive wave of darkness that surged agitatedly, threatening to swallow them whole. Jake watched helplessly as the very fabric of the forest strained against its own creation, like a beast awakening from slumber. "Jake!" Sarah's figure quivered, caught in the grip of the darkness. "You have to leap! Leap into the light! Trust me!" His heart thundered in his ears. Leap? Into what? The incandescent glimmer that shimmered mockingly ahead, or the black maw that threatened to consume him in despair? The shadows crested like a wave, crashing against him with a force that drove him to the ground. Struggling against the tide, he felt something fierce igniting within, a flicker of hope. Was Sarah pulling him toward salvation or drawing him into a den of horrors? He had no time. The moment was slipping, curling like smoke in the oppressive night air. With his mind a cacophony of doubt, he surged forward, the light beckoning him closer, illuminating everything he had longed for amid the chaos. But as he plunged toward that light, he felt fingers clawing at his ankles. They weren't the spectral fingers of the lost. They were human hands, clutching desperately, a pleading grip that promised answers but perhaps also unimaginable truths. What had he truly chosen? What reality dwelled in that radiant glow? The moment hung like a noose, poised to strike. He had to decide: would he abandon everything he knew, or was there more lurking in the shadows than he had dared to realize? And as Jake braced himself for impact, he heard the primal roar of the woods erupting, shaking the very earth beneath him. Whatever lay ahead, he could no longer turn back. The echoes of his choices thundered in the dark, unleashing forces that might just strip away everything he was, everything he loved. What lay on the other side was not only a truth but a test. Would he survive it, or be devoured whole? Jake's heart plummeted as the pull of the light enveloped him, and every muscle screamed in defiance. The hands at his ankles tightened their grip, pulling him down just as he felt hope surging anew. It was a struggle against forces he didn't fully understand, a violent tug-of-war between the past he knew and the future that seemed ready to consume him whole. He gritted his teeth, lunging toward the dazzle of brightness like a swimmer fighting against a riptide. Shadows writhed around him, tendrils of darkness that whispered his name, caressing him with a mournful eeriness that brought cold sweat to his brow. "Let me go!" he roared, desperation fueling his strength. It felt as if the very soul of the forest was wailing, deafening his thoughts with anguished cries, drowning out the clearer voices that urged him to stay. "Jake!" Sarah's voice broke through the cacophony again, cutting like a knife. He could see her now, caught in the largest shadow, the terror radiating off her like heat from a flame. "You're almost there. Just a little further." But with every ounce of resolve, the darkness hissed back, offering sweet, sickly promises. "Stay with us, Jake, where you belong." Where all that's left, the flickering light became sharper, a beacon of clarity amid the chaos. The tainted hands began to slip, clawing at his jeans, pulling, pleading. Were they reaching for him to drag him down, or were they sacrificing everything for his escape? The confusion heightened inside him as he swung back and forth, straddling the fragile line between two worlds. In that fractured moment of indecision, Jake noticed something within the light shadows flitting around its edges, whispers picking up speed. Realization hit hard, like a punch to the gut. It wasn't just light, it was something more, something intertwined with the very essence of the forest. "Make your choice!" Sarah screamed, her voice echoing through the din that swallowed the landscape. And it was then Jake realized this wasn't just a leap into illumination. It was a path laden with truths, wrapped up in choice. It wasn't only about him. He was part of something larger, something ancient. Jake steeled himself, clenching fists around the warm, tugging hands, finally wrenching free. With one powerful leap, he propelled himself into the glow, ignoring the chilling fingers that grasped at his retreating form. The instant he broke the threshold, a shockwave pulsed through him, bright and electric, an anguished scream of the lost echoing into the night. He landed with a thud, the forest tumbling behind him into a nebulous void. Gasping for breath, he blinked against blinding light, feeling as though he'd crossed into another realm. And in that moment, he realized this was not the end, but merely the beginning of a new nightmare. Around him, a shimmering landscape unfurled, dotted with ghost-white trees and strange creatures weaving in and out of the shimmering light. Were they spirits? Or memories taking form? His pulse quickened. Every step echoed with urgency as he turned, scanning the terrain, seeking any sign of Sarah. What had he unleashed? What new horrors lay waiting for him here? But then, an unsettling sensation struck him. He was being watched. He could feel eyes lingering on him from the shadows, as if the very air thrummed with anticipation. A low growl resonated, vibrating through the ground, snapping Jake from his search. The feeling morphed from unease to primal fear, pulling him taut like a coiled spring. "Who's there?" he demanded, voice trembling. A pair of luminous eyes blinked into existence in the thick underbrush, glistening with an intelligence that sent a shiver down his spine. And as they locked onto his gaze, Jake knew he had only uncovered the tip of this twisted tale. The woods beyond the light held secrets he wasn't prepared for. The question lingered, would he unravel the truth or become another lost soul within its depths? The woods had only just begun to reveal themselves. What else lurked in the shadows waiting for him to discover? Jake's breath caught in his throat. The glowing eyes didn't blink, fixed and unyielding, as if daring him to take a step closer. The growl deepened, a rumble that resonated down to his core. Panic surged, an instinct kicked in he should run. But where? There was only the unfamiliar terrain and the watchful darkness surrounding him. The shadows shifted, revealing a lithe form, a creature, not quite animal, not quite spirit, moving with an eerie grace. Its body shimmered like the trees around him, alternating between transparency and solid form, blending as if it were part of the very forest itself. Jake stepped backward, unease pooling in his gut like ice. "What do you want?" he asked, voice barely a whisper now. Jake it spoke, but the sound was not like human speech. It was a cacophony of whispers, threaded with malice yet laced with curiosity. "You chose the light. You chose the change." "Change?" he echoed, confusion flooding his mind. "What kind of change?" With an almost playful flick of its tail, the creature slinked closer. "You've stepped into a world of reckoning, a liminal space where lost souls dwell. Here, choices manifest as shadows. Here, truth is revealed." Jake's heart raced. The memories he de-escaped, the decisions he thought he could leave behind, loomed like specters in his mind. Was this his penance? Was the darkness now entwined with his own past? Suddenly, a new sound broke through the silence, a sharp, painful cry. "Sarah!" he shouted, whirling around, chasing after the echo of her voice. Everything within him screamed for her, for any sign that she was near. The beast watched him, eyes glinting with a mix of amusement and pity. "You'll find her only if you dare unravel the thoughts that bind you. You only see shadows, but she is there. You just need to know where to look." With shaky legs, Jake plunged deeper into the forest. The trees swayed around him, and the light dimmed as he moved through a corridor of shadows. The further he ventured, the more the air shimmered with a prickling tension, as if the forest itself was alive with whispers, sharing secrets that had long been buried. "Sarah! Where are you?" His voice rang out, but only silence answered him, a stillness so heavy that it felt like a physical weight. Then he heard it, a soft rustling. Hope rekindled. "Jake?" Her voice floated through the darkness, fragile yet rooted in the familiar. "I'm here. Stay where you are." "I'm coming." The frantic thrum of his heart echoed in his ears as he raced toward the sound. Each step darkened the world around him, each stir of the leaves a reminder of how close he was to the brink of despair. The creature lingered behind, its presence a constant pulse of fear and fascination. As he rounded a massive tree, he found her. Sarah was standing still, her gaze locked onto something behind him, eyes wide with terror. "Jake, don't turn around!" she gasped, her voice breaking. The warning hit him like ice. Instinctively, he froze. The dread coiled tight within him, pressing against the walls of his chest. But how could he not look? How could he abandon all the instincts that screamed at him to defend, to protect? "Just run!" she cried, panic seeping into every syllable. But even as he hesitated, deep down he felt the pull of something darker, a magnetic force drawing him to the creature he had thought he could ignore. With a final glance at Sarah, he turned ready to confront whatever awaited him in the shadows. And in that moment he understood the choice was never about fleeing from the darkness. It was embracing it, unlocking the truths contained within, however terrifying they might be. What loomed behind him remained a mystery. But he knew the dark truth he had stumbled into could not be so easily ignored. Would he have the strength to face it, or would the shadows consume him whole? Jake turned, heart pounding fiercely against his ribcage. The shadows shifted around him as he faced the unknown, a storm of emotions swirling inside: fear, anger, defiance. What emerged from that darkness was a silhouette, monstrous yet beautiful, flickering like an old film reel on the verge of tearing. Jake it spoke again, voice warping like wind through branches. The sound was a blend of whispers, each syllable caressing his consciousness like a shredded memory. Panic flared anew. This was not just any creature. It was a reflection of his own thoughts and fears come alive. He heard Sarah's rapid breathing behind him, and he fought the urge to glance back. "What do you want from me?" His voice cracked. Choice, it hissed, circling him with a predatory grace. "You yearn for freedom, yet you cling to your chains." Jake's mind raced. Chains? He wasn't chained. He was out here searching for Sarah. Yet deep inside, he knew this creature was right. A part of him felt shackled by guilt, by memories of choices that had haunted him. Those very choices still gripped him, tightening around his throat. "Let her go!" he shouted, a flicker of desperation igniting within him. The creature paused, its eyes narrowing. "She's a reflection too like you. Only when you accept your own darkness can you protect her. You've ignored the truth long enough." Jake's thoughts churned. He had fled from his past, from moments of loss and regret, believing they remained hidden in the shadows. But now, those moments were flesh and blood before him, twisting and turning into forms he could barely comprehend. "Face it, Jake. The past doesn't vanish. It evolves." The creature lunged closer, swirling in intoxication, weaving his past mistakes into a tapestry of torment. Each thread pulled hard at his chest, awakening memories he dared not face. "Stop!" Jake cried, but the words felt empty, lost beneath the weight of the creature's intensity. He could see it now, uncensored, the faces of those he had betrayed, the choices he had made, the silent screams of lost opportunities. The stark realization wrapped around him, squeezing the air from his lungs. "Sarah," his voice faltered, as self-doubt clawed at his resolve. "Remember what you did to me, Jake? The moments you left behind?" Sarah's voice drifted from somewhere in the fog. It pierced through the darkness, echoing the truth he thought he could shake off, the truth that intertwined their fates. Suddenly, the creature surged forward, forming a corridor of shadows leading deeper into the forest. "Follow the path forged by your own choices. Only then can you reclaim her and yourself," it demanded, the air vibrating with urgency. "Wait!" Jake yelled, torn between a past that threatened to swallow him and a future he fought to reclaim. The urge to run surged, but the magnetic pull toward unraveling the truth was too powerful. With breath shallow and sharp, he stepped into the darkness. Each step felt like a knife, cutting deeper into him, revealing layers he had buried away. Just behind him, he felt Sarah's presence, still grounded, still fighting. But the terror in her voice echoed in his mind, "Jake, don't lose yourself." As shadows surrounded him, memories solidified like concrete walls, imprisoning him in guilt and remorse. With each stride, Jake felt those walls beginning to crack, revealing glimpses of clarity. But could he really accept the dark truth waiting for him? With one last surge of determination, he pushed forward into the shadows, ready to face the choices that defined him, unaware of how far the creature was willing to drag him into the abyss, or how far he might just fall. What awaited him at the end of the dark path? The truth? Or a fate worse than the shadows themselves? Jake's legs felt heavy as he plunged deeper into the suffocating darkness. He was traversing through memories that warred against his soul. The shadows whispered, curling around him like a smothering blanket, but there was a glint of something in the distance brighter than before. Hope flickered in his chest like a flame, but the air grew colder with every step. "Stop!" A voice, powerful and commanding, pulled him back into the depths of despair. He turned, desperately, back towards Sarah, who seemed to flicker between worlds. "You must confront what you fear most," she urged, desperation coating her every word. "You can't run from this." "Then help me!" Jake shouted, frustration boiling over. "Help me find you again." "In order to find me, you must reclaim who you are," she replied, her face twisting like shadows weaving into the fabric of the night. "The truth resides within." The creature loomed nearer, darker than the void itself. "Embrace your choices, Jake. You are the architect of your own fears," it intoned, each word drenching him with bitter sorrow. Jake clenched his fists, ready to shout back, but something deep inside him clicked. The realization surged like electricity through his blood. Was this creature this reflection of every choice he had made right? He could see it now, clearly illuminated amid the turmoil, the moments he had hesitated, the times he had chosen convenience over courage. And Sarah, the essence of light that he sought amidst all of it, she was buried under the weight of his past. "Okay," he breathed, voice trembling, "I'll confront it. I won't run away." He forced himself to step closer to the pulsing darkness, feeling it throb against his skin. With every inch forward, the shadows shifted, and the air thickened with memories of regret. Ghostly faces emerged, each one echoing fragments of his past, people from his childhood, friends long forgotten, and the hollow-eyed ones who whispered secrets he had buried. "You let us down," they chorused, voices rising in a cacophony of heartbreak. "Get away!" He threw up his hands, willing them back, but the faces only grew clearer. "I'm sorry! I didn't mean to!" Tears burned in his eyes, the weight of their collective regrets crashing over him like a tidal wave. "Face the truth," the creature spoke, a smirk pulling at its lips. "Only then will you break free from the chains you've woven for yourself." Jake pressed forward. It was terrifying, yet with every step, he felt the icy grip of despair begin to melt. "What do you want?" he cried, the question echoing off the darkened trees. "Only what you deny," the creature whispered. "You must forgive yourself before you can save her." With resolve, Jake dropped to his knees, the fiery breath of his past threatening to engulf him. A wave of sorrow engulfed him, he could hardly breathe now. He could almost taste it, salty and sharp, the regrets entwining with what-ifs, a festering wound deep in his heart. "Sarah, I'm sorry!" he yelled, the heartfelt plea breaking from his lips. "I was scared. I didn't know how to protect you. Please forgive me." The shadows around him trembled, and Sarah's voice pierced through the thick fog. "Forgive yourself, Jake. It's time to let go." As he laid there, sobs racking his body, a brilliant light began to emanate from within him, pulsating outward like a beacon of acceptance. The darkness spun around him, furious, but Jake held firm. His past couldn't shackle him any longer, not when he fought with the fierce love he had for Sarah. The faces began to fade, their sorrow lifting like morning mist. Hope surged anew as he stood up, filled with unyielding energy. "I choose to embrace my past. I want healing, I want truth." The creature recoiled, its eyes narrowing. "No! This is not how it's meant to be." The moment he spoke, the very fabric of the dark shifted. Jake felt himself breaking through the shadows, hurtling toward the glimmer of light that shone brighter than before. And then it was like breaking through the surface of deep water, his lungs filled with air and warmth. He stumbled back into the luminous clearing where he had first glimpsed the truth. The shadow figures dissipated, their haunting cries muted into the embrace of dawn. "Jake?" Sarah's voice filled the air, hovering just behind him, richer and more alive than he had ever heard it. He turned, breathless, to find her standing there, eyes glistening. "You did it!" Running into her arms felt like stepping into the sun after the cold of a long winter. "I was so scared I'd lost you forever," he whispered, holding her tightly, feeling her warmth suffuse regret with a rushing wave of love. "I never went anywhere. You found your way back home," she smiled through tears, merging a myriad of emotions, relief, joy, and the unbreakable bond that tethered them together even in the darkest of hours. As the sun crested the horizon, the shadows receded, chased away by the warmth of new beginnings. Jake and Sarah stood together, hands intertwined as they faced the forest, once an enemy, now a reminder of their strength. Never again, Jake vowed, a fierce determination igniting within him. "I won't let fear guide me." Together, they turned away from the darkness, ready to forge their future, one filled with hope and healing. Now, dear friends, if you've traveled this journey with us, you need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and keep the magic alive. Don't forget to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And you know what? Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. True fans like you understand just how important your support is for keeping our adventures alive.